Today's top stories. President Duterte calls on APEC leaders to aim for inclusive globalization that will also benefit smaller countries. Malacanang is set to hold talks with leaders of the National Democratic Front next week. The Education Department clarifies the plan to teach Korean as an elective subject in senior high school. And the NUPEP squad regains its championship title at the UAAP Cheerdance competition.
Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Maroto.
And I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte has returned from the APEC summit in Papua New Guinea after attending the ASEAN summit in Singapore.
The president has called on fellow APEC leaders to pursue globalization that would benefit all countries, especially small economies. More on this from Rom Dulfo.
President Rodrigo Duterte urged fellow APEC leaders to push for globalization that is inclusive and empowers smaller economies like the Philippines. President Duterte made this appeal during the APEC Economic Leaders meeting on Saturday, during the APEC Leaders Retreat session, as well as the APEC Business Advisory Council meeting on Sunday. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez says the president is so passionate about inclusive globalization where bigger nations empower smaller countries. He says the president's messages were very clear in making sure that globalization should not really affect small countries. APEC leaders have also focused their discussion on how micro, small, and medium enterprises will embrace highly digitalized business processes. Lopez said Duterte has emphasized the need for the MSMEs to be given more proper training to prepare them for digitalization of businesses. Duterte also stressed that win-win arrangements and mutual respect for sovereignty must be adopted by each country as part of globalization. Meanwhile, Lopez assured the Philippines' sovereignty will not be compromised by the agreements that will be signed during Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Manila. He maintains mutual respect for sovereignty is very solid. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte's participation in the recent ASEAN and APEC summits were fruitful and productive. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says the president continued to advance Philippine interests and prioritize the upholding and promotion of the country's key positions. Another highlight is empowering micro, small, and medium enterprises. President Duterte joined ASEAN leaders in underscoring the importance of centrality and community building. He also delivered the ASEAN-China Common Statement where he affirmed their shared commitment to implement the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea.
Palace officials are set to meet with leaders of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines in Manila next week. Presidential Peace Advisor Jesus Dureza says he and presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo will have an informal meeting with NDF Chief Negotiator Fidel Agawili and advisor Luis Halandoni. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier announced that Agawili, Halandoni, and NDF consultant Connie Ledesma had expressed their plan to visit the country. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, however, accused the NDFP on negotiating peace in bad faith. He says the NDF is only using the resumption of negotiations to advance their cause for armed struggle. He claims that what the rebels ultimately want is not peace, but a complete takeover and establish a communist government.
PCOO Chief Martin Andanar was awarded the Most Outstanding Public Servant during the second Diamond Golden Awards held on Saturday. Assistant Secretary Ramon Qualoping received the award on behalf of Andanar, who was in Papua New Guinea for the APEC summit. Aside from Andanar, other public servants as well as other individuals from the media and entertainment industry were given awards. Last month, Andanar received recognition from the National Press Club for his unstinting support to press freedom and welfare of the Philippine media community.
Over 5,000 police are on guard for the visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping, and a Filipino is among the list of victims in the wildfires in California. More on these and other news around the metro from Rom Dulfo.
Some 5,500 police officers will be deployed for the state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping on November 20 and 21. NCRPO Director Guillermo Eleazar says these include anti-riot cops and augmentation forces from Metro Manila and the Calabar Zone area. Eleazar said they are banking on the success of previous international events held in the Philippines in ensuring the success of Xi's visit. Meanwhile, the Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco reports a Filipino lost his home in Butte County following the wildfires that razed Northern California. Apart from the unnamed victim, no Filipino has been reported among the fatalities. At least 71 persons were reported killed due to the blaze, with more than 1,000 people still unaccounted for. The Filipino community is requested to call the consulate if they have any information on others who may require consular assistance. In other news, Senator Grace Poe's father-in-law was injured when his car fell from an elevated parking space at a shopping mall in San Juan City on Saturday. Police say 83-year-old Teodoro Paraiso de Manzares was driving a black Toyota Innova which fell from the third level of the parking lot. He was rushed to the Cardinal Santos Medical Center for immediate medical treatment. No other casualty was reported. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Still to come, the Department of Education clarifies the plan to teach Korean as an elective subject in senior high school.
The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas said the 2018 inflation forecast was hiked to 5.3% from 5.2% during the rate-setting meeting last September. The suspension of the second tranche of the oil excise tax hike in 2019 will push through as recommended by the economic managers of President Rodrigo Duterte. The U.S. government announced the official return of the Balangiga bells to the Philippines 117 years after it was taken as war booty from a town church in eastern Samar. During the state visit slated from November 20 to 21, President Rodrigo Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping will exchange views on areas of mutual concern and cooperation between Manila and Beijing. During the 33rd Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Singapore, the bloc reaffirmed freedom of navigation as well as its commitment towards a full and effective code of conduct in the South China Sea.
The Department of Education clarifies its plans to add Korean language in the curriculum. DEPED Secretary Leonor Briones says Korean language will be taught starting school year 2019 to 2020 as an elective subject. Briones stresses that there are many electives which are foreign languages in senior high school. Interested students will need to secure mastery of Filipino and English languages before they could take the program. She says basic education on the Filipino language will not be changed because it is still included in the K-12 program. Filipino and Panitikan are no longer mandatory subjects in colleges and universities, but they will be taught in high school.
President Rodrigo Duterte has fired 3 undersecretaries of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea confirmed that Duterte has sacked the 3 undersecretaries who were appointed in 2016. Medialdea expects new DSWD Secretary and former Army Chief Rolando Bautista to bring his own team to provide better services to the public. Bautista, who was appointed in October, replaced Virginia Orogo, who served as acting secretary in April. Medialdea also denied that their termination has anything to do with their being members of left-leaning groups. The government of Belgium hailed the recent closure and rehabilitation of Boracay. It says the rehab improves Boracay's sustainability for being one of the country's most popular tourist destinations. More on this from Miguel Hill.
The Duterte administration's move to rehabilitate Boracay was a good decision after all, according to Belgian Ambassador to Manila, Michael Goffin. The diplomat also lauded the rehabilitation plans of the government for other popular destinations including El Nido in Palawan. Goffin said such initiative translates to the government's commitment towards sustainable tourism, a move that will eventually attract more tourists. Goffin also cited the need for the Philippines to be much more promoted in Belgium and the rest of Europe. In 2017, Manila welcomed at least 15,000 visitors from Brussels. While this keeps increasing, the Philippines' brand as a trove of beautiful tourist sites is little known in Brussels. The envoy also noted the need to improve infrastructure in the country, specifically the connectivity between some island provinces through public transport. The government is currently implementing the Build, Build, Build program with big-ticket infrastructure projects in Metro Manila and the provinces, such as construction of airports, bridges, and the train system in the works. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
The Philippines and Papua New Guinea plans to establish a joint economic and trade committee to further enhance economic relations. The Department of Trade and Industry and Papua New Guinea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs signed a memorandum of understanding on the sidelines of the APEC summit. Both countries agreed to exchange information on trade, investment, economic issues, and other concerns. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said that Philippines can jointly venture with Papua New Guinea in activities in agriculture as well as oil and gas exploration. Meanwhile, the Philippines will increase exports of processed goods, electronics, machineries and equipment, packaging materials, and appliances to Papua New Guinea.
The Philippine Coast Guard intercepted a cargo vessel loaded with about 50 million pesos worth of smuggled rice off Sulu. Coast Guard personnel aboard BRP Cape San Agustin spotted the vessel MV Hulk on Thursday morning while anchored in Bulan Island. The cargo vessel, which came from Cagayan de Oro City, was found to be loaded with more or less than 50,000 bags of rice without any import permit or pertinent documents. The Coast Guard is now waiting for inspection of the rice shipment by the Bureau of Customs.
Former rebels from Misamis Occidental receive financial aid from the government, and Baguio City suspends its number coding scheme. More on these stories from the provinces from Benj Bondoc.
In Misamis Occidental, 71 former New People's Army rebels received financial assistance from the government through the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana led the distribution of checks in a ceremony held in Oroquieta City. The former NPA rebels pledged their commitment, loyalty, and support to the government. In Baguio City, the number coding scheme is suspended for private vehicles starting November 19 until December 14. This is in line with the hosting of the 65th Annual Mine Safety and Environment Conference from November 20 to 23. The city will also host the 69th Phil-Am Invitational Amateur Golf Tournament from November 28 to December 15. Over 1,300 amateur golfers from different parts of the world are expected to arrive in the city. In Puerto Princesa, Palawan, a local official is appealing for an exemption from the ban of over 6,000 tricycle franchise holders from national roads. Councilor Rolando Amurao says the city still can't afford to ban them from the highways due to insufficient public transport. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondoc.
Up next, The NUPEP squad regained its championship title at the UAAP Cheerdance competition.
And what makes Korean pop culture appealing to Filipinos? Find out when the PNA Newsroom continues. The NUPEP squad regained its spot at the top after ruling this year's UAAP Cheerdance competition held at the Mall of Asia Arena on Saturday. NUPEP bounced back from last year's loss with a routine inspired by the Disney movie Coco. FEU Pep Squad took second place with its 70s themed performance. Erstwhile champion Adamson Pep Squad barely made the podium as it edged out the UST Salingani Dance Troupe for third place. NU Pep dominated the night as it took the group stunts title, followed by FEU in second place and Adamson Pep in third.
The Philippine Azgals took a 3-2 win against East Timor in the ASEAN Football Federation Suzuki Cup at the Kuala Lumpur Stadium in Malaysia. The Azgals almost blew their 3-point lead in the second half as 2 goals in just 2 minutes inched East Timor closer to an upset in Malaysia. Phil Younghusband scored his 52nd international goal with his opening strike in the 27th minute. Martin Stubel doubled the Azgals' lead in the 33rd minute, while Carly Demurga struck a 68th-minute goal to further stretch their lead. The Azgals will return to the Panad Stadium in Bacolod City to take on Thailand, which downed Indonesia 4-2 on Wednesday night.
Thousands of Greek citizens marched across Athens on Saturday to mark the 45th anniversary of the Athens Polytechnic Uprising of November 1973. Protesters commemorated the students' protests against the military junta, which led to the restoration of democracy. They also paid homage to the students who were killed by junta forces. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras called on everyone to heed the needs and concerns of the younger generation who are in the forefront of major changes that lead forward. The demonstration ended in minor clashes between anarchists and anti-riot police forces, where 8 people were arrested.
Long before Korean language studies were proposed in schools, Filipinos have already shown interest in Korean culture.
The popularity of Korean pop culture has led to a healthy cultural exchange between the Philippines and South Korea. More on this from Benj Bondo.
Many Filipinos are big fans of K-dramas and K-pop. Despite not understanding the lyrics, many can still sing along with K-pop songs and claim these are among their favorites. Director Ejin Chol of the Korean Cultural Center in the Philippines says what is distinct about Korean culture is its candidness. He emphasized that K-dramas do not just feature the region or tourist attractions, but rather deal with the everyday lives of ordinary people so the viewers could relate. What makes K-pop unique, on the other hand, is that it embraces other cultures, including the agonies, the scars, and the concerns of other people. Lee says that 2019 will be a mutual exchange year between the Philippines and Korea. KCC is preparing for various cultural exchange activities. There will be workshops, performances, and a Korean actor will visit. Every year, KCC holds the Philippines-Korea Cultural Festival in Manila and conducts the Korean Cultural Caravan in selected schools that hold Korean classes. This caravan aims to inspire Filipinos while also encouraging them to love their own. Lee says he's considering bringing the Korean Culture Caravan also to government offices such as the Philippine National Police, Bureau of Immigration, and others. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's top stories.
President Duterte calls on APEC leaders to aim for inclusive globalization that will also benefit smaller countries. Malacanang is set to hold talks with leaders of the National Democratic Front next week. The Education Department clarifies the plan to teach Korean as an elective subject in senior high school. And the NUPEP squad regains its championship title at the UAAP Cheerdance competition.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter.
For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites.
And it's 36 days to go before Christmas.
Yes, it's just a little bit over a month and the year is coming to an end.
How many cups of coffee have you had today?
Oh,
surprise!
I've had a
It's
lot.
a Monday.
I've been sleeping, but I've had maybe like 2.
Really? Oh my gosh,
And I'm
I
still
beat you all the
sleepy.
time.
How many?
It's like 6 cups every day.
Already?
I know, right? And I shouldn't be having it.
But then
I
mine's
super
cold.
love-
I'm sure yours is hot.
Yeah,
See,
totally.
that-
Who
see,
drinks
that's it.
cold coffee?
Me! Always,
Good
even
grief.
on cold weather. See, it's just a different strokes for different
I
folks,
know,
and that's the
that's
point.
true, that's true.
Okay.
That's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Rosas Moroto.
And I'm William Theo. Good day.